Guys, okay, a longer video today. No physiotherapy today. We are writing tests and exams, so no long classes, and it is rather cold, so we are staying right where we are today. Okay, I am losing my nut. I'm now reading three books at the same time. Elizabeth in the lounge, Angela Kelly's book in the bedroom, and The Rebel Prince, The Making of a Monarch by Tom Bauer in the toilet. Now, I know I do this all the time. I know I interrupt myself all the time, but this time I am well aware of doing it. I think those of you who have been with me for a while will remember me saying time and time again that my obsession with fairness is what keeps me going. I'm absolutely fanatic about fairness. That is why I refuse to say too much about Andrew, because if you want to talk about Andrew and his friendship with Epstein and Nygaard, you have to talk about his brother Charles's friendship with Savile, Peter Ball, and Lawrence van der Post. How you cannot is beyond me. And for as long as Charles's friendship with these three men is ignored, I shall ignore Andrew's friendship with Epstein and Nygaard. If you want to make excuses for one, you have to do so for the other. If you want to believe that Charles did not know about Savile, then why not believe Andrew did not know about what Epstein was up to? So yes, what is good for the goose is good for the gander. But the principle of fairness must apply across the board, even when we talk about Harry and Meghan. Yes, Harry and Meghan have done more than enough, all on their own, for us to not like them and not trust them. So we don't have to make up stories or look for things which don't exist or read things into what they do or say, which maybe they have never done or said. And then we also need to be very careful to excuse the sins of one but not the other. And that, my dear friends, is where I find myself lately. You see, reading these books simultaneously and having recently, I mean only a few months ago, read Spare and Courtiers, it is interesting to note where the books overlap and how each writer has his or her own feelings and opinions on the same scenarios. Being someone who do not really have much emotion when it comes to Queen Consort Camilla, but instead purely respect her for keeping her head down during the drama and scandal, and then eventually just doing the job or what is expected of her. That was until I read my way through a couple of books and read enough to be able to read between the lines. One of the first things which really shocked me, actually, shocked is not the right word, because I have thought and felt this way about Prince, now King Charles, for a long time. So let's say it came rather as a surprise more than shock to find confirmation of my intuition in black and white, and from someone else with closer connections to the royals and elite than I do. So where and how do I start to explain this? I really don't know. But let me then first explain myself. My first impression of Charles as money and power hungry, particularly money hungry or greedy, is obviously based in the cash for honest scandal, to put it simply. Obviously, it is not that simple, but maybe we'll talk about that in a later video, as in this one, I want to factor in the situation around Harry and Meghan. What I did not quite get, quite understood, or really thought about was the other people involved. Remember, it takes two to tango. We are all talking about the people Harry and Meghan used along the way, like Elton John and Tyler Perry for their private jets and accommodation, to name but two. The others and the rest of the story or stories are well documented in my older videos and are still being documented to this day. Their use and discarding of people, including their families, had disgusted us and we cried foul many, many times. We are horrified at Meghan and Harry's every move and decision being influenced by money. And how many times have we said, it's all about the money, honey? So, how shocked or surprised would you be to learn that this conduct is not much different from that of the current king and his wife? Like Harry and Meghan, it also appears as if Charles and his wife do not really care who they form alliances with, as long as they get some sort of benefit from it. And a perfect example of this are things which happened in 1999. I think it was in July, August, when Charles, Camilla, her children, and about 20 friends sailed on the Alexander, the world's third largest private yacht at the time, as guests of Yanis Latsis or Latsis, a foul-mouthed Greek shipping billionaire whose fortune, some say, was based on black marketeering, collaboration with the Nazis, and bribing Arabs for a stake in the oil trade. My question to you is, yes, I dislike and am disgusted by Harry and Meghan's wheeling and dealing, their greed, and often by those they call friends, purely because it benefits them. I know most of you subscribe to this channel feel exactly the same. So why, oh why, don't you judge and criticize Charles and Camilla for having done exactly the same thing? I honestly don't understand it. What shocked me more than this, though, because I had an inkling of this before, was to learn about Camilla's attitude and actions. It was honestly the last thing I expected. Remember us talking about Meghan and her love of freebies, their stay in Elton's villa in the south of France, and so forth. Well, hold on to your dentures, my friends. While in New York in 1999, Camilla was introduced to Edmund and Lily Safra. At the time, Camilla heard that the billionaire banker also owned a luxury yacht and an 18-acre estate in the south of France. Very quickly, Camilla inquired what she needed to do to secure a stay. An invitation for the Safras to visit St. James's Palace, and soon after, Michael Fawcett was arranging Camilla's holiday on that estate in the south of France. Now, twisting the truth, telling their truth as opposed to the truth, is also not a Harry and Meghan speciality. Some of you may remember or may have read about John Major's speech when announcing Charles and Diana's separation. The first lie was telling the House of Commons that as far as the separation goes, there was no third party involved, although by then the affairs on both sides were already common knowledge. However, the truth was denounced in words like, there are no plans, it is not the intention that, etc., etc. The second lie in this speech was deliberately written in by Charles's staff and was indeed a very, very bold lie, and how anyone British could have believed it is still beyond me to this very day. Major told the MPs that despite the fact that it was a legal separation, it would not have any constitutional implications and that Diana will one day still be queen. How ridiculous. The lie was as obvious and as ridiculous as Meghan's "we were married 3 days before we were married" lie in Oprah. And the result was as embarrassing, if not more so, than the Archbishop denouncing Meghan's lie. Because 5 weeks after Major's speech, the Daily Mirror published the transcript of the infamous Tampon Gate phone call between Charles and Camilla. How embarrassing. Under no circumstances am I advocating for Harry and Meghan. I find their conduct common and brash, and when it comes to their families, absolutely disgusting and heartless. But if I want their titles removed because of their conduct, then we also need to weigh it against the conduct of the king and his wife. Before we even had an inkling that the Queen was seriously ill, I had questioned whether Charles was fit to be king, and in particular whether he was fit to be the head of the Church of England. And now, reading this material, I think and feel that he is not. I also think and feel that what I have spoken about here is exactly why he won't remove Harry's titles. Because if he does, he could be seen as the world's biggest hypocrite. So instead, he will leave it to William to deal with, who, so far, has not broken any, or at least too many, rules. Yes, I do not always agree with William. I often find him a little too woke. But what honestly counts heavily in his favor, as far as I'm concerned, is that he is a man of action, someone who does things and not just talk about it. Whether you subscribe to the climate change ideology or not does not matter. What matters is that new innovations and inventions are always welcome, and therefore I fully subscribe to William's Earthshot Prize. I also love that William has heeded his conscience and is now working on plans for low-cost housing to curb homelessness, instead of designing and building designer villages like his father. As the stubborn support for Charles is literally dying off. Yes, indeed. His support mainly rests with the over 60s. Well, because of that, I honestly think that he is a risk to the monarchy. And understand this, I'm not an anti-monarchist. I'm actually, like Tom Bauer and others, a huge supporter of the monarchy. I am just not a supporter of King Charles. And the reason stated in this video, along with the proof and receipts, is exactly why I feel the way I do about the current king, and of course his son and daughter-in-law. As someone ex-military said recently, I swore allegiance to the Queen, not to Charles. And that is exactly how I feel. I did not watch the rugby video with Princess Anne, William, Catherine, and Mike Tyndall, but I saw clips, and when you watch William and Catherine, one can see the opposing parts of their characters, which makes them ideal as king and queen. William is more stoic and Catherine more down to earth and excitable, and that is what is needed. We, the public, need to feel again, get excited again, feel loyalty and love for our country and fellow citizens. And I'm sorry, but Charles, his wife, his Ginger's son, and his wife do not instill or incite that energy, excitement, and loyalty in us. But William and Catherine do. As for Princess Anne, well, if only she could have been queen. Yes, she has a failed marriage behind her too, but she never lied about it. Her loyalty to her mother and her tremendous sense of duty also far outweighs her failings. Who does not love Anne? I mean, really, or at least appreciate her for who she is. Okay, guys, this is long enough. I also hope you listen to the end because people so often judge or comment before listening to the reasoning behind the narrative and then end up saying things which is really uncalled for. Okay, guys and girls, so that's it from me for now. I'm going to obviously make similar videos as I continue reading Elizabeth, The Rebel Prince, The Makings of a Monarch, and Angela Kelly's book. So I hope you're looking forward to that and you weren't put off by this video. But anyway, guys, I will be back here soon enough. So please take care of yourselves. Until then, bye.